The space station of Varela was always busy, its markets full of strange lights, alien voices, and smells that could make a human dizzy. Alex, a human mechanic, walked through the crowded paths with a heavy tool bag over his shoulder. He had worked on this station for almost 3 years, fixing alien ships, repairing cargo pods, and sometimes cleaning old engines for a few credits. Life was simple, not rich, but enough to survive. But lately, he had noticed something strange. Every time he entered the market, some aliens would stop talking and glance at him with curious eyes. They would whisper in their own languages, sometimes pointing in his direction before quickly looking away. Alex didn't know why, but he could feel something was going on. That day, he was called to repair a damaged cargo pod in the lower docks. The owner, a reptilian trader named Korgath, was impatient, his scaly tail swishing back and forth. "This shipment must leave today," Korgath hissed. "Open it and fix the locking seals, human." Alex nodded and began working, his hands moving quickly. The lock was old but simple, and in a few minutes, the hatch popped open with a hiss. Inside were boxes, each sealed with glowing red tape. One box had a small crack, and a faint golden light leaked through. Curious, Alex gently opened it. Inside was a small crystal vial, about the size of his thumb, filled with thick, golden liquid that shimmered even in the dim light. It looked almost alive, like it was glowing from inside. Alex frowned, turning it in his hand before he could ask Korgath about it. The trader froze, his eyes wide. "Put that back." Korgath whispered sharply, almost afraid, but before Alex could move, another voice spoke from behind. "I'll buy it from you, human." For 10,000 credits, Alex turned to see a tall alien with silver skin and eyes like liquid metal. He was dressed in rich fabrics, the kind only the upper levels of the station could afford. 10,000 credits was more than Alex made in a year, but something in the alien's tone made him uneasy. He closed his hand around the vial. "It's not mine," Alex said. "I'm just here to fix the lock." The silver-skinned alien smiled faintly, but his eyes were sharp. "Think about my offer. You won't get a second chance," he said, before walking away into the crowd. Korgath snatched the vial from Alex's hand and shoved it back into the cracked box. Sealing it quickly, "You saw nothing," he growled. "Finish your work and leave." Alex worked in silence, but his mind was full of questions. Why would anyone pay a fortune for a tiny vial of golden liquid? When he finished, Korgath paid him double his usual fee but told him never to speak of what he saw as Alex walked back through the market. He noticed a figure following him. She was tall, wearing a hooded cloak that hid her face. When he turned a corner, she caught up to him and spoke softly. "Be careful, human. That vial you touched is not just liquid, it's human male nectar." Alex stopped, his heart pounding. "What does that even mean?" he asked. The woman shook her head, glancing around nervously. "Some will kill to get it. And now they know you've touched it," she said, before disappearing into the crowd. Alex stood frozen for a moment, the noise of the market fading in his ears. Human male nectar. He had never heard of such a thing, but the fear in the woman's voice was real. Before he could think, 2 armored alien guards stepped out from a side alley, blocking his path. One of them spoke in a deep, mechanical voice. "Human, open your bag." Now, Alex's grip tightened on his tool bag. He didn't have the vial. Korgath had taken it, but something told him these guards didn't care. They were here for him. The crowd around them slowed. Watching Alex took a slow step back, his mind racing. If he opened his bag, they might still take him. If he ran, they would know he had something to hide. Either way, he could feel the walls of the market closing in. The taller guard stepped forward, his armor gleaming under the neon lights. "This is not a request," he growled, reaching for Alex's shoulder. Alex glanced left and right, searching for an escape, but all he saw were shadows and the glint of curious eyes watching from the market stalls. Something deep inside told him his life had just changed forever. And it all began with a single drop of golden liquid. Alex's heart was still pounding as the taller guard's hand came closer. His instincts screamed at him to move, and in a flash he twisted sideways, slipping through the narrow space between a stall piled high with glowing fruit and a wall of stacked crates. The guards shouted, their heavy boots pounding after him. But Alex had worked in these markets for years. He knew every shortcut, every broken passage the guards would be too bulky to pass through. He darted into a service tunnel, his boots splashing in shallow puddles, the smell of rust and stale air surrounding him. He kept running until the noise of pursuit faded. Only then did he stop. Leaning against the damp wall to catch his breath, his mind was a storm of questions. What was human male nectar? Why was it so valuable? And why would someone pay more than he could make in years just for a vial of it? He made his way toward his workshop in the lower levels, but halfway there, a sleek black shuttle descended in front of him. The side door slid open without a sound. Inside sat an alien woman with flawless silver blue skin, wearing a shimmering gown that caught the light like liquid stars. She smiled, her sharp teeth gleaming. "Mr. Alex," she said in perfect standard, "please, join me. We have much to discuss." Alex hesitated, glancing around. The street was empty now. The shuttle's polished interior looked like it belonged to someone far above his pay grade. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low. "I am merely a representative," she replied smoothly. "My employer wishes to make you an offer." Curiosity and unease battled in his mind, but refusing might be dangerous. He stepped inside, the door closing silently behind him. The shuttle glided through the station's transport tubes, heading upward toward the wealthier decks. Alex had never been this high before. Here, the air smelled clean, the lights were warm, and every wall gleamed like polished stone. The shuttle stopped before a massive set of gold-trimmed doors. Two guards in white armor stood on either side, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. They didn't speak as the woman led Alex inside. The room beyond was a palace compared to the cramped markets below. Silken drapes hung from the ceiling, fountains of sparkling water flowed in the corners, and a long table was set with dishes of food Alex couldn't name. At the far end sat a tall alien noblewoman, her skin a deep shade of violet, her golden eyes fixed on him with unsettling intensity. "Come closer, human," she said, her voice like velvet over steel. Alex approached cautiously. She studied him the way a jeweler studies a rare gem. "I understand you recently came in too." "Contact with something very valuable," she began. "Human male nectar." Alex frowned. "I don't even know what that is." The noblewoman's lips curved into a faint smile. "It is something only human males can produce. Under specific conditions," she leaned forward. "It is said to restore youth, strengthen the body, and enhance life itself. My kind has sought it for centuries." Her tone was calm, but her eyes were sharp, measuring every twitch of his expression. "I will pay you 50,000 credits for that vial," she said, "and if you agree to provide more in the future, the rewards will be beyond anything you've imagined." Alex's stomach tightened. "And if I say no?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she lifted a crystal goblet from the table and took a slow sip, her gaze never leaving his. "Then others will make the same offer," she said softly, "but they will not be as generous." Alex felt the weight of her words. The market whispers, the guards chasing him, the hooded woman's warning, all of it was connected. And he was at the center. "I don't have the vial," he said, "and I'm not for sale." Her smile didn't fade, but her fingers tapped the table once, a signal. Somewhere behind him, the guards shifted, their armor clinking. Think carefully. Human, she murmured. Once you walk out that door, you step into a galaxy that now knows your worth. The woman who had brought him there returned to escort him back to the shuttle. The ride down was silent. But Alex's mind was far from still. The moment the shuttle landed, she handed him a small folded card. "If you change your mind, use this code," she said. Then the door closed, and the shuttle vanished into the upper levels. Alex slipped into the shadows of the market, his hand gripping the card. The code printed in shimmering ink. He was about to throw it away when a shadow separated itself from the wall. It was the same hooded woman from before. "You just met the noble," she said, her voice urgent. "You can't trust her, none of them. They don't just want the vial. They want you." Alex's grip tightened. "Why?" he demanded. "Because you're rare," she said. "And because human male nectar can only come from a living source." Her words made his skin crawl. "They will keep you alive for years. If they have to, locked away like an animal, never seeing the stars again." She took a step closer, her hood falling back to reveal sharp but striking features. "You need to disappear before it's too late." Alex felt the station's air grow heavier, the noise of the crowd distant, and for the first time he realized this wasn't just about credits or trade. It was about survival, and his time was running out. Alex stared at the hooded woman, his pulse quickening. Her words clung to him like a shadow he couldn't shake. "Disappear?" he asked, his voice low. "How?" "They already know my face." She glanced around quickly, scanning the crowd. "Not." "If we change it," she replied, "come with me now, before the watchers arrive." Every instinct told him to walk away, to go back to his workshop, close the door, and pretend none of this ever happened. But something deeper whispered that it was already too late for normal life. Without another word, he followed her through the maze of market stalls, taking narrow side routes, ducking under hanging banners and slipping through steam-filled alleys where the air smelled of metal and burnt spices. They reached a small, unmarked door wedged between two shuttered shops. She tapped a sequence on the panel, and it slid open with a hiss. Inside was dim, lit only by strips of flickering blue light. Alex stepped in cautiously, the door sealing. "Behind them, this way," she said, leading him down a steep staircase into a large underground chamber. The place was filled with humans, more than Alex had seen together in years, men and women, all wearing mismatched clothing from different worlds. Some looked tired, others alert. A few carried makeshift weapons. "Welcome to the Hollow," she said, pulling off her cloak completely. "We're the human resistance on Virella." A tall man with deep scars across his cheek approached, studying Alex carefully. "This the one?" he asked. The woman nodded. "He touched it," she said. "And now every buyer on the station will be looking for him." Alex frowned. "Touched what? That nectar thing? Why is it such a big deal?" The man sighed, glancing at the others. Before speaking, "Because it's real, and because it's rare." He gestured for Alex to sit. "Human male nectar isn't just some trade item. It's part of us, something our bodies can make only under very specific conditions. Things the aliens can't reproduce or synthesize." Alex leaned forward. "Conditions like what?" The man hesitated, then answered. "It's tied to strong emotions. Love, survival, the instinct to protect. Some say it's biological magic." His tone turned grim. "To them, it's worth more than gold, more than weapons, more than planets. Rich aliens will pay entire fortunes for a single vial because they believe it can extend life, cure sickness, and even help species that are dying out." Alex sat back, the weight of it sinking in. "So, if they know I can make it, they won't just want the vial." "Exactly," the woman said. "They'll want you alive, forever." A sudden alarm blared through the hollow, flashing red lights painting the chamber. People moved fast, grabbing weapons, sealing crates. "They found us," someone shouted. The man with scars grabbed Alex by the arm. "You're coming with me. We have a safe route out." The woman stayed behind, covering their escape. They sprinted through another set of tunnels, this time darker and narrower. The sound of boots and alien voices echoed behind them. Alex's breath came heavy, his mind racing. A part of him wanted to stop and ask questions. But the urgency in the scarred man's grip left no room for hesitation. They climbed a rusted ladder and emerged into an abandoned maintenance bay. The man pressed a small data chip into Alex's hand. "This has everything. Lists of buyers, locations of their vaults, proof of what they've done to humans they've captured. Keep it safe. It's the only leverage you have now." Alex tucked it into his pocket. "And then what?" The man looked at him with steady eyes. "Then you decide, hide for the rest of your life or use what you know to fight back." Before Alex could answer, a shadow moved across the bay door, the faint glow of alien scanners sweeping the walls they had seconds before discovery. The man shoved Alex toward a side hatch. "Go, now." Alex slipped through and found himself in a low corridor that led to the outer docking ring. Ow. The distant hum of engines filling the air. He kept moving, weaving between stacks of cargo and broken machinery. Voices echoed nearby. Words in a language he didn't understand, but the tone was unmistakable. They were hunting. He ducked into a narrow gap between containers. Pressing his back against the cold metal, 2 alien guards passed, scanning the area, their visors glowing faintly. One of them paused, turning in Alex's direction. His heart thundered in his ears. Then, from somewhere above, a metal pipe clattered to the floor. Both guards turned toward the sound and moved away to investigate. Alex didn't wait. He ran, slipping through the final hatch into the public docking area, blending into the stream of travelers. As he walked among the crowd, head down, he realized. The truth, he wasn't just running from the guards or the noblewoman anymore. He was running from the entire galaxy's greed, and somewhere deep inside, a decision was forming. Alex blended into the flow of travelers, moving through the docking area. But his eyes kept scanning every reflection, every shadow. A feeling in his gut told him the hunters hadn't given up. They were simply waiting for the right moment. The crowd thinned near the outer lifts. The hum of the engines grew louder, and the air carried the faint taste of recycled metal. A soft chime sounded from the COM display above the lift doors. It read delayed maintenance in progress. Alex turned to take another route, but before he could move, a hand clamped down. On his shoulder, strong and cold through his jacket, he spun around and found himself staring at a masked alien in black combat armor. The helmet's mirrored visor reflected his own startled face. "Mr. Alex," the voice came through a modulator. Smooth but threatening. "You need to come with us, quietly." Alex's mind raced. The corridor was almost empty now. If he shouted, maybe no one would hear, and if they did, they might look the other way. He tried to pull back, but another armored figure stepped behind him, blocking the escape route. "We're not here to hurt you," the first one said, though his grip never loosened. "But if you resist, it will be unpleasant." They moved him toward a side door marked "Authorized Personnel Only," forcing him inside a dim cargo tunnel. The air was cooler here. The lights flickered in irregular bursts. Ahead waited a small transport shuttle, its engines idling. The ramp already lowered. Alex's stomach tightened as he was pushed inside. The interior smelled faintly of oil and antiseptic. Along one wall were metal cages, some empty, others holding men, humans, their eyes wide and hollow, their wrists and ankles chained. A sick feeling churned in Alex's chest. One man, older, with a bruised jaw, met his eyes and shook his head slowly. A silent warning. Alex was shoved toward an empty cage, but before the door could close, a sharp metallic clang echoed from outside the shuttle. Shouts followed, muffled, but urgent. The guards froze. One of them tapped his comm. Report, no answer came. A moment later, the entire shuttle rocked violently. The sound of something slamming into its hull. The lights dimmed for a split second. Then a flash of red spilled through the doorway as smoke hissed inside. In the chaos, a figure darted in, lean, fast, wearing patched armor and a hood pulled. Lo! Alex recognized her instantly. The hooded woman from the market. Move. She shouted, tossing a stun grenade into the far end of the shuttle. The guards barely had time to react before the burst of light and sound disoriented them. Alex's cage door slammed open, the woman grabbing his arm and pulling him out. They ran toward the ramp, smoke thick around them. A guard lunged from the haze, swinging a heavy baton. Alex ducked instinctively while the woman slammed her elbow into the guard's throat, sending him sprawling outside. The docking tunnel was chaos. The woman had brought others, humans, and even a few sympathetic aliens, all armed, all moving. Fast, they freed the other captives while holding off the remaining guards. Blaster fire lit the walls with orange streaks, the air filled with the hum of energy weapons. Alex and the hooded woman sprinted toward a maintenance hatch at the far end. Ducking under a closing blast door just in time, they tumbled into a dark access corridor, the metal vibrating faintly under their boots. They didn't stop until they reached a narrow chamber lined with old supply crates. Only then did she speak. Her breathing quick but steady. That was too close. They were taking you to an extraction ship. Alex wiped sweat from his brow. Extraction? He asked. Her expression hardened. They were going to move you off station. To a private vault. Once you left Varela, you'd never come back. Alex sank onto one of the crates, his head pounding. You keep saving me, he said. Why? She hesitated before answering. Because I know what it's like to be taken. Her voice dropped. I was born in a holding cell like that, my mother. She didn't survive long. For the first time, Alex saw not just a fighter, but someone who had lived this nightmare. She reached into her pouch and handed him a small device. This is a tracker jammer. Keep it on you at all times, they may. Have tagged you already? Alex took it, his fingers brushing hers. What now? He asked. Her gaze was steady. Now we stop running and start planning. You're not just a target anymore. You're leverage. And if we use that right, we can hurt them where it matters. Alex nodded slowly. But deep inside, he knew the danger was far from over. If anything, it was only growing. Somewhere beyond the walls, the galaxy was already whispering his name. And the price on his head was climbing higher by the hour. The next day began with a silence that felt wrong. On Varela, there was always noise, market calls, docking alarms, the hum of distant engines. But now, as Alex walked through the lower levels, he realized the usual chaos was gone. The stalls were shuttered, the corridors half empty, even the air seemed thicker. He didn't need to guess why. The hooded woman's voice echoed in his head. They won't stop. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the cages, the empty stares of the other humans, and the noblewoman's golden gaze, promising rewards that were nothing but chains. He was halfway back to the hollow when the ceiling lights above flickered and turned a deep shade of crimson. A station-wide announcement cut through the air, the voice smooth, formal, and amplified so no one could pretend not to hear attention. Residents of Virella, by order of Her Imperial Grace, Queen Virelia, of the 7th House. Human male designated Alex is hereby summoned to the Royal Audience Chamber. Immediate compliance is required. Alex froze, his stomach tightening. The hooded woman appeared from the shadows almost instantly. Her cloak drawn tight, there forcing it, she said under her breath. If you refuse, the station security will treat you as a threat. If you go, you'll be walking straight into her hands. Before Alex could answer, a squad of the Queen's Royal Guard rounded the corner, their armor pure white with flowing silver crests, nothing like the black armor hunters. The one in front stopped, bowing slightly, his voice calm but carrying weight. "Sir, Her Majesty requests your presence, unharmed, unbound," and with all due respect, the difference in tone was unsettling. No threats, no weapons drawn, just an offer wrapped in velvet. Alex exchanged a glance with the hooded woman. "Eyes, horny." "You don't have to trust them," she whispered. "But maybe you should see what she wants." Against his better judgment, Alex nodded. The guards escorted him through lifts and corridors he had never seen. The higher they went, the more the air changed. It smelled of rare flowers and something. Faintly sweet, the walls gleamed with polished silver inlaid with blue crystal patterns. Finally, they entered a hall so large it could hold a dozen shuttles. Sunlight, or something like it, poured down from a glass dome above. At the far end stood Queen Varelia herself, taller than any human woman Alex had met. Her presence was a storm hidden in silk, violet skin glinting under the light, golden eyes fixed on him as though nothing else in the hall mattered. When she spoke, her voice was rich and smooth. "You have caused quite a stir, human Alex." Stayed silent, her smile was slight but not unkind. "Do not mistake me for the merchants or the hunters. I am not here to buy you. I am here to protect you." The words hit him strangely. "Protect me?" He asked. "You're the reason they're after me. You put my name out there." She didn't deny it. "I had to. The only way to shield you from the lower scavengers is to make it clear that you belong to the highest authority." He didn't like the word belong, but before he could respond, she stepped down from her dais and walked toward him, the air between them humming faintly. Human male nectar is not just valuable. "It is dangerous," she said, her tone serious now. "Wars have been fought over less. If the black market wins you, they will not just drain you. They will weaponize you." Alex's mind was torn between suspicion and the flicker of something else. Could she be telling the truth? "So what's your plan?" he asked. She looked him straight in the eyes. "You stay under my personal protection here. In the royal wing, no one will touch you without my command. In return." She let the words hang in the air. "Give me exclusive rights." To your nectar, it wasn't a threat, but it was a leash, one wrapped in golden silk. Alex thought of the hollow, of the resistance fighters who risked themselves to free him. If he accepted, he might be safe, but he'd be a prisoner in luxury if he refused. The Queen's protection would vanish, and the hunters would be back within hours before he could answer. One of her advisors leaned in to whisper something. Her expression tightened for the first time. "It seems the hunters are already moving," she said, her gaze returning to him. "Make your choice quickly, human, because outside these walls, your life is worth more than entire planets. And the galaxy is bidding higher every second." Alex felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. Safety wrapped in control, freedom wrapped in danger. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that whichever path he chose, there would be no turning back. Alex didn't give the Queen an answer right away. Instead, he asked for time, a request she granted with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The royal guards escorted him to a guest chamber in the palace. Guest was even the right word for a place with no visible locks, but walls that somehow felt like they were watching. The room was more beautiful than anywhere he'd lived, soft carpets under his boots, a bed big enough for 4 people, and windows that opened to a view of a glowing alien garden. The air smelled faintly of something sweet, calming, maybe. Even to calming, Alex tested the door. It opened freely. The hall outside was quiet, no guards in sight, still. He knew enough about palaces to understand that absence didn't mean freedom. He wandered into the garden, tall, crystal-like plants, swayed under a light that wasn't from any sun. He sat by a small pond, trying to think, when a voice startled him. They'll keep you alive for decades if you agree. But you'll never leave. He turned to see a woman, or something close to it, sitting on a low stone bench. Her skin a paler violet than the queen's. Her eyes softer, but no less sharp. "I am Liara," she said. Half-sister to the queen, Alex studied her carefully. "You don't sound like someone who thinks this is a good idea." Liara smiled. "Faintly, my sister believes she's protecting you. And perhaps she is, but she's also binding you to her. She thinks if she controls you, she can stop others from using you. But control is still control." Her tone was calm, but there was something urgent beneath it. "You're not the first. Rare beings she's brought here, human. Some have stayed willingly, others—" She didn't finish the sentence, but her eyes flicked toward the deeper parts of the garden where shadows seemed thicker. Before Alex could ask more, a chime sounded from the palace walls. A voice not the queen's announced security. "Alert perimeter breach." Liara rose quickly. "They found you sooner than expected," she said. "You need to decide whether to let her hide you, or let me help you escape." Alex didn't know whether to trust her, but the timing felt too precise to be coincidence. Still, curiosity and survival pulled him along as she led him through winding garden paths into a narrow service corridor. Hidden behind a wall of vines, the corridor was darker. Lit only by faint strips of green light, halfway down, they stopped. Ahead were 2 royal guards. Not hunters, but loyal to the queen. Liara stepped forward, speaking to them in a language Alex didn't understand. Their body language shifted, respectful, hesitant, before they stepped aside. Letting them pass, the corridor ended at a small chamber. Unlike the rest of the palace, it was cold, metallic, filled with medical equipment that hummed softly. Alex's stomach twisted as he saw the centerpiece, a chair with restraints, tubes, and a strange crystal container positioned beneath it. Lyra's expression darkened. "This is where they take Nectar, human, painless at first, but they'll never stop. You'll be a resource, not a person." Alex felt the walls closing in. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked. Liara met his eyes. "Because I think you deserve the truth before you decide." She moved to a panel on the wall, pressing a sequence of buttons. A side door slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel. "This leads outside the palace. But once you step into it, the queen will know you've chosen against her." Before Alex could answer, the sound of approaching boots filled the corridor behind them. Liara stepped back, her voice low but urgent. "You have seconds. Human, stay and be hers. Or run and be hunted." The decision ripped through him. Part of him thought about the safety the queen had promised, the walls that could shield him. From the hunters, another part saw the chair, the tubes, the quiet hum of a future without freedom. He took one last look at Liara, her gaze unreadable, then stepped toward the tunnel, the door sliding closed behind him. Cutting off the light from the chamber, the air inside was colder. The ground sloped downward, and the only sound was the echo of his own footsteps, somewhere far above. The queen would be learning of his choice, and somewhere beyond the tunnel's end. The hunters would be waiting, but Alex knew one thing for certain. His freedom now had a price higher than anything in the galaxy, and everyone was willing to pay it. The tunnel was longer than Alex expected. The air grew colder. The metal walls damp under his fingertips after several minutes. The slope leveled out, and he saw a faint light ahead. But before he could reach it, a shadow moved, blocking the way. It wasn't Liara, and it wasn't a royal guard. It was one of the hunters, the black-armored kind, visor glowing faintly red. "You've saved me the trouble of coming inside," the modulated voice said. Behind him, footsteps echoed. In the tunnel, more hunters closing in. Alex was trapped. The lead hunter stepped closer. "Hand over the chip, human, the one with the buyer list." Alex's heart pounded. The scarred man from the hollow had told him it was leverage. Maybe the only thing keeping him alive. "And now they wanted it. If I give it to you, "You'll still take me," Alex said. The hunter tilted his head. "Of course." A faint vibration hummed through the floor. At first, Alex thought it was the hunter's boots, but then the sound deepened, becoming a low, rolling rumble. The tunnel lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. One of the hunters turned sharply toward the far end. "What is that?" The answer came in the form of a blast. The wall behind Alex shuddered, metal tearing open as a battered cargo hauler crashed halfway into the tunnel. Smoke and sparks filled the air. The rear hatch dropped, and figures poured out humans. The hollow fighters, armed and ready. The hooded woman was at the front, her voice sharp. "Move, Alex," she shouted, tossing him a small blaster. He caught it clumsily, but kept it ready. The hunters opened fire, bright streaks of energy cutting through the smoke. The resistance fighters returned shots. The narrow space turning into chaos. Alex ducked behind a broken support beam, firing when he could. His aim rough, but enough to keep the hunters from pushing forward. The hooded woman slid next to him. "You still have the chip?" she asked. He nodded. "Good, because we're ending this tonight." The plan was insane, but it was the only one they had. Broadcast the data chip's contents directly into the station's central network. Expose the buyers, the black market routes, and the proof of how humans had been taken and sold. Once the whole station saw it, hiding it would be impossible. They fought their way toward the tunnel's end, the light growing brighter. One hunter fell, another stumbled from a stun blast. The air stank of ozone and burned metal. Finally, they burst out into a wide loading bay, the station's control spire visible through the high windows. But they weren't alone. Royal guards in white armor were already there. And at their center stood Queen Varelia. No throne, no dais, just her standing tall. Golden eyes fixed on Alex. "I told you, outside my walls, you would be hunted," she said, her voice calm, even as blaster fire echoed behind him. Alex didn't lower the blaster, "And I told you, I'm not for sale." The Queen's gaze flicked to the hooded woman, then back to him. "If you release that data, he will start a war," she warned. "Not just here, but across systems. Some of those buyers are rulers. Their armies will burn whole worlds." To silence you, the hooded woman leaned in, her voice low but fierce. "And if we don't, they'll keep taking us, one by one, until there's no one left." For a long moment, Alex stood between them. The Queen offering stability at the cost of freedom. The Resistance offering freedom at the cost of peace. Both paths heavy with blood. He thought of the cages, of Liara's warning, of the chair. In the hidden room of the old man's hollow stare, he pulled the data chip from his pocket, holding it up so the Queen could see it. Her jaw tightened. "Don't," she said, her voice almost a plea. Alex stepped toward the nearest console. The Queen's guards shifted but didn't fire, maybe because they weren't sure if she truly wanted him stopped. With one hard motion, Alex slammed the chip into the console's slot. The screen flared to life, streams of data spilling across it. Faces, names, transaction records, hidden locations, the truth flooding into the station's open network. Alarms blared almost instantly. The Queen closed her eyes for a moment, then turned away. The hooded woman grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a side exit. "We need to move before the whole station comes down on us," she said, outside. The hollow fighters were already retreating, blending into the chaos as shouts and sirens filled the air. As they ran, Alex looked back once through the loading bay's haze. He saw the Queen watching him, her expression unreadable, not anger, not relief, something in between. Like she knew the game had just changed. They disappeared into the maze of the lower docks, the station shaking with the weight of what had just been unleashed. Alex didn't know if they'd started a war or ended one, but he knew this. The Galaxy would never see him as just a mechanic again, and the price on his head was now beyond fortune. It was history.